Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we're going to look at something on a very historical scale. Um, Saturday, July the 20th, will be the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 landing upon the moon, Luna. It is a huge anniversary, 50 years. I figured we'd talk about it because we need something to celebrate. It feels as if we've stepped backwards in our progress. Corporations are ruling us once again, like in the Gilded Age. I've said it before, this is like a second Gilded Age. We have an idiot in the Oval Office. Even much of our school funding has been cut. For what? To give more money to the rich and the corporations? It it seemed as I wasn't alive with the first moon landing, but it seemed like an age where we would go up and up and up. The ideas, the thoughts, the progression was plentiful in multitudes of, progression. We were on the way to color television. We were on the way to mobile phones, the internet. They were literally decades away, but they were just around the corner. And it feels as if now corporations have been able to push us back into a second Gilded Age. The rich has pushed us back into a second Gilded Age. We've slowed down progress, and we're not even trying to help ourselves. This is the same science that got us to the moon, that proved all this stuff, that's showing that climate change is happening. But people don't want to believe it, even though it's the same science. It's not using mystical techniques. It's using the same processes. That's right. Processes, observation, study, testing, calculations, models. All of it is used into figuring out we are struggling with climate change, they're the same kind of things that were used to figure out how can we get a spaceship to the moon. But people don't want to pay attention. We used to have a much more intelligent populace. Now there's these ideologies that push these ridiculous ideas. We know the earth is not flat, but there's still groups who suggest, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. You can't prove it otherwise. We've been to the moon. We know we've been to the moon. No, we haven't. You can't prove it. Really? We've made vaccines that have cured polio, mumps, measles almost wiped out. No, they cause autism. Really? There is no scientific proof for what you assert. None of your assertions, your proclamations, have scientific backing behind them. None! Whatsoever! And yet, if it's written in one paper, one document, that's what they'll want to believe. Not the hundreds and thousands of others saying otherwise. Just that one or that two that says, yeah, it is, well, that's what it does. Durr. We went backwards. How did we let this happen? I know how. I've studied it. It's kind of my thing. I study history. I went to college to study history. I've studied it on my own. I realize how sources work. We allowed the rich and the corporations to take over certain groups to re-suggest things until we no longer trust what is factual. We've allowed social media to cloud our minds that one article can overpower dozens, hundreds, thousands of others. And I've had to push myself to say, look for multiple articles. I had a conversation with my mom over an article talking about Nancy Pelosi being kicked off the floor of the House. I asked, what was the source? Where was it from? She lifts off some kind of site which I have never heard of. I go and I double check. Nowhere else on the internet. That's what I mean. You double check. You should always believe the idea with the multiple sources. I'm not going to say that every once in a blue moon that these odd ideas might be factual. You get enough of them, there's always going to be a chance that one of these conspiracies are true. But you're talking about one out of thousands, out of millions. So what makes you believe it's the one you're believing in? I much rather trust verification and scientific verification at that. When we should be celebrating traveling to the moon, we should have advanced to, you know, have set up planetary colonies or outposts on Mars. I'm not saying we can terraform a place, but we could at least set up you know, an insulated place so it can insulate you from the weather, can maintain air. It would have to require several layers, but it would be possible. And you could slowly expand by slowly building and connecting in modular pieces. I'm not saying it'd be easy, but we should have already looked at potentially setting up these kind of outposts. We could have hit Mars because we know in our own solar system, it's the besides probably the moon, it's the closest to Earth-like conditions. Problem with the moon is there's no atmosphere. There's no the gravity is not near as strong just due to the size. Mars would be very similar to the Earth though, because there's conditions where there is potentially water. We still haven't fully confirmed that, but it seems that the potentials are there. The gravity is going to be very similar to Earth. So, as long as we set up, modular setups, not sparing any real expense, don't cut corners, but actually set it up. We could set up little outposts on Mars and slowly grow them with modular construction. And we could work together. We have a, we'll have a communications. We could have some kind of communications array set up, so there'd be communications between the Earth and Mars, and we would go across. I forget which asteroid belt that is. I know there's just between Mars and Jupiter, there's an asteroid belt. Because there's one between Mars and Jupiter, and then there's one outside of Pluto. I know one's the Kuiper Belt and one is... I can't remember the name of the other. But there's 2 asteroid belts, and that would be the first one we'd come across. But going past that asteroid belt, we'd hit temperature issues. It would get colder and colder. I mean, on Mars itself, the temperatures are going to sway quite a bit from what it is on Earth. But once you really get out to the moons of like Jupiter, which there's several, so there's chances for investigation on the moons of Jupiter. Was there Titan? Can't remember all of them. I know there's like 20 some moons. Let me look it up right quick here. Moons of Jupiter. It's taking its time. Let's see, we've got Europa, Ganymede, Io, Callisto, Valetudo, Amalthea. It's not a perfectly spherical one like the others, Amalthea. It's kind of uniquely shaped. Also got Himalaya, Adrastea, Carme, Metis, Thebe, Lasithia, Pasiphae, Anonke, Ilara, Sinope, Calicae, Themisto, Jupiter 6. No, what? That's not 6. LVI. It's Jupiter LVII, Jupiter LVII, Jupiter LX, Calaroy, Carpo, Persei, Dia, Megaclite, Caudine, Eurythmy, Silene, Sonoe, Jupiter LXI, SJ003J2, Tegety, Aitne, or Aitne, I'm not sure. It's a very irregular shaped moon, likely an asteroid that was drawn into Jupiter's gravity. Helike, Lacoste, Aoede. Again, I'm probably butchering these. I don't know Greek very well. Harpalike or Harpalike, Arche, Aeronome, Euclide, Hegemone, S2003J9, Jupiter LIV, S2003J4, Jupiter LIX, S2003 J10, S2003 J16, Praxidike, Jupiter LV, and S2003 J12. Like I said, Jupiter's got a lot of moons. And as long as they stay within Jupiter's orbit, that's a lot to explore. So we have the Earth, its moon, Mars, which I believe has its own moon. In fact, I think it has two. Let me reopen my browser here. Moons of Mars. Yeah, I believe Mars has two. We know the Earth has the one, which is a pretty good size, but the moon has, yeah, Phobos and Deimos. I thought it had two. But Mars has Phobos and Deimos as its moons. Then you have that first asteroid belt and the moons of Jupiter. As you know, not only are you exploring for minerals and resources, you've extended our reach into the solar system. We are no longer a single planetary base species at that point. We can explore, you know, we have the Earth, but we can explore the moon, which shouldn't be too bad off. We can explore Mars. We can explore Phobos and Deimos. Like I said, the asteroid belt and the moons of Jupiter. Of course, like I said, as we get further out into Mars and the asteroid belt, it will get colder. The sun's reach only keeps the habitable zone so far before we experience extreme cold. So we will have to prepare. But we should have already been going on these trips. It's like after the Cold War ended, we don't have to worry about space travel anymore. What's the purpose? The purpose is knowledge. Understanding. You don't want to know more? Of course not. All you're interested in is your damn wars. And draining this planet dry of resources. Well, we could still make more money off of it. We are tied too much to our want for money. This should have been something we have continued into, not just quit so far into the 90s. I think it was in the 90s we basically quit. I know we had other space launch, shuttle launches and stuff into the 80s. But it's like into the 90s, at some point, we just quit launching into space to explore more. Yes, we can do a lot of exploring on the ground, but we should also be going into space to find what else we can do. But it shouldn't be just to find the same resources. We should have already surpassed the need for actual fossil fuels. The sun is a plentiful source of energy. Will it last forever? No, but it lasts a hell of a lot longer than fossil fuels do. There's other ways of producing fuel as well. It doesn't mean we shouldn't look for fossil fuels, but they shouldn't be the primary source we burn to maintain energy, to maintain light. That's part of our problem now. It's all we want to do, and because that's what these money grubbers want. They've got to make their money through fossil fuels. But, yeah, like I was saying, we should have already advanced further in science. This Saturday is the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11's landing on the moon. And what else have we really gotten to at this point? It's just, it feels like we've gone backwards, is what I want to say. You know, the science is all the same, whether it's studying climate change or how to get us to the moon, or how the breakdown of the chemicals in fossil fuels cause the chemical reactions that produce light and energy. But until next time, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. I need to place my sign about right there, so I can have it in my videos. I've still got it right here, I just haven't put it up. I've got to do some other things first. But I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, later.